So, Gaijin, you decided you're not doing anything new for top-tier battles and not changing the gameplay at all?
Yeah, you've got to help us, Doc. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
Hello everybody, how's it going? Screezilla here, and I hope you're all well. And, well, this video is a bit of a moan about jets and top tier at the moment. The current meta of jets, I suppose. So let's just quickly look at the team standoff. So, for our team at least. Our team mainly consisting of a couple of Phantoms, MiG-21s, and Hunters. Now, the reason there's not much, well, there's quite a sort of broad difference between some planes is, well, some of them are completely useless. Now, on our team, we have less MiG-21s than the enemy. And, spoiler warning, that means we're going to lose. Our team makeup is not as strong as the enemy team. Despite having all v all, because they can't play nation versus nation jets because the balance is so very broken. If your team has a couple of 9.3 jets, or the German MiG-19S for instance, or a couple of Phantoms, you're probably going to lose because you don't have the competitive edge over the enemy team. If the enemy team has more of those planes on the field, you've already lost the game. Now, how badly we're going to lose the game, I'll leave it up to you to decide for the time being, before we get into battle basically. So, place your bets on how badly we lose this game. How many kills do you think our team gets, and how many deaths do the enemy team get? Because playing jets, every match is very much like this. Now, we'll get back into that in a moment. Now, you'll see that I am carrying a ground loadout. So, I have many missiles, some good rockets, so I should say, rather than missiles, but, you know, some good ground attacking rockets on board. 76 of them, in fact. So, I'm going ground pounding, because there's no point in trying to dogfight. Let's just quickly jump to some of our planes in the dogfighting arena at the moment, and let's see how well they're doing. Let's look at the MiG-21 here, for instance, which has just died. Let's look at the Hunter F1. Now, you see this furball that's going on. There's a lot of MiG-19s, there's a lot of MiG-21s, there's a lot of Hunters. And we're already getting absolutely schwacked. You can see people dying left and right. It's becoming a bit of a slaughter. And this is kind of what happens in every match. Depending on how your team does is basically dependent on what planes your team has. And it's so very unbalanced that if your plane has a layout of a few different planes that aren't, you know, aren't quite the current winners, the best planes, then you've essentially lost already. And you can see here, this is kind of what's happening to us. Now, we've got a couple of Phantoms. We've got the British Phantom here, with 4 air-to-air missiles and a gun pod on it. But the Phantom's air-to-air missiles are relatively crap because, well, they have a 10G max overload, so they can't really do much. You can get kills with them. It's not impossible, but you can do it. However, you can see already that we've lost almost all of our team, and the enemy hasn't. The Phantom tries to get some shots off there with the gun pod and fails, and the biggest shortcoming of the Phantom is that gun pod, because people still struggle to aim with it because it is just such a unwieldy thing. So you can see the Hunter's getting ganged up on there by a MiG-19 and a MiG-21, and the Hunter is going to the Phantom is going to try and get on the MiG-21's tail, but MiG-21 is just too manoeuvrable for it, and can't really get around. And we've got MiG-21 coming up to him, and he does survive that pass, which is useful, but we're already down to 3 planes. The match has been going on for 5 minutes, and we've lost almost all of our team. The Hunter is trying its best to survive, but it's outmaneuvered by the MiG-19s and MiG-21s, you know, at slower speeds. The Hunter needs a bit of a faster speed to it. Now this, of course, is the premium Hunter, so it's you know, it's what you buy with your well-earned money, and get into jets to play jets in War Thunder, and this is the kind of match you can expect to have, basically being murdered constantly. And bang, down goes the Hunter. So we'll hop back to myself now, and I've just been busy ground pounding, really, just firing some rockets across the board at some AAA, doing a good job to sort of nail a few, getting some kills, just so I can actually get some research points and some lions. We are in a bad position now because, as you can see, it's 3 versus pretty much a full team. We've managed to get 1 kill. 1 enemy kill. Yep. That's great. And this is the kind of thing you can expect for pretty much every match. 1 enemy managed to crash. So that's in our favour, but it wasn't a kill. You know, it was a crash. It was literally just a crash. You know, this is the kind of thing that you're going to face. And if you're planning on buying yourself a premium jet, this is the kind of matchup you can expect to face as well. The kind of odds that you will be enjoying and enduring, I should say. Because you may get down tiered a few times, but generally you're always going to get up tiered. And when you're up tiered, jets are miserable. So we've got an F4 coming in on us. So we're going to have to go head on with him. Now he's got the gun pods, of course, so we're going to come around, we're going to swing around, we get some shots off, we hit it a couple of times with our 30mm. Flak damage, so we've got 1 damage to it. We've got a MiG-21 now, and this is where we're going to have to start turn fighting and actually doing some fights. Now, the rockets on board don't help, but we just have to do what we can do. 10G rocket, of course, easy to evade. Not going to win in a horizontal climb here because the MiG-21 is a much faster plane. We really have no hope. I'm just going to launch off my 2nd missile just to try and make him jink so he doesn't come back at me. The F4 is now on my 6. He's going to fire off his guns and miss because it's an F4 and they always miss with their guns. We're going to swing around and we should get a nice hit here with our 30mm. We do, and we hit the flaps. So 2 30mm hits so far on that F4. We've damaged both flaps. Now I have got ground targets equipped, so armor piercing shell with an HE shell. So theoretically they could have been both AP shells hitting, but you would think that you know, being an AP-HE sort of system, that HE round should hit as well at some stage. So far we've got 3 hits on that Phantom and it is absolutely fine. Coming around, it's going head on again because it's a Phantom. We fire off a few shots, and will we get a hit? We get a hit. We get a hit. And we've damaged it. We don't know what damage we've done, but we've caused damage to it. MiG gets our wing, and that's us done. So, that was the match, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that is what you can expect from jet gameplay. So, when you think about buying yourself that premium jet to get into the jets, because, oh boy, jets seem like fun, think again. Don't do it, because it's not worth it. You're just going to have a really bad time. Alright, let's just head to the end screen. And so ends your average jet game. So, this is pretty much the normal result as we speak in current meta and current gameplay style. Honestly, I've just resorted to ground pounding. There's no point trying to fight in the G91 YS, because you can't do much. You can outturn people, and yes, as you saw in that ending sequence, you can absolutely take people out if your guns actually do damage the plane enough to kill it. Despite having, I think, 4 or 5 crits, well, at least damages on that Phantom, it didn't go down. 3 or 4 head-on direct hits to the Phantom and nothing with a 30mm, which just says everything about this game mode. You can see here with our team score, we got 1 kill through that whole match. The enemy team lost 3 planes. Yeah, you can see the issue now, can't you? You can start seeing the problem. So if we look at the battle log quickly, everybody's just absolutely annihilated. It's so quick. The MiG-21s are nigh unstoppable. Depending on the version, the Hunter FGA-9 is extremely powerful. If your team gets lame ducks, gets the planes that aren't the current meta, your team's lost already. There's no point in playing. You can say that, well, you just ground pounded. You didn't really do anything to help the game. Honestly, there wasn't much I could have done in that mode. In a furball like that, you're kind of stuck. You don't have the speed to get out of it. You don't have the agility to move around everything. You're kind of caught in the middle, which makes the standard G91 slightly better than the YS, which is just crazy. But it has better air performance, I find. It has better turning. It just feels a bit better to fly. Whereas the YS does struggle in that respect. The only way I'm making money and or RP for this plane is ground pounding. I will get 1 or 2 kills, but that's it. It's very rare that I do. That's why I keep the AIM-9s on there, because usually you'll get a kill with one of those. But if we look at some of the top tier jets, for instance, let's go to the Phantom quickly, and we look at the F4C Phantom 2, look at modifications, and the main thing is to look at the AIM-9E, which has only a 10G loading to it. So it's not that good in that respect. So you find that Phantoms drag your team down. Now let's look at the MiG. So the MiG-21. Let's look at the R60, whatever that is. 18G, which makes a huge difference. When you've only got 10G on a missile, it really can't turn as much. It struggles. Whereas with the MiG-21s, you have 18G rockets. Missiles. Again, with the Hunter series, so the Hunter F6 modifications, you have the SRAAM4s with 20G, very, very good missiles, and they will absolutely do the job. The British Phantom, I don't think gets them, top of my head. Yeah, they just get the AIM-9D, which has 16G, which is again better. It just, it really is so very wonky and broken. And again, the problem with the Phantom is you have the gun pod rather than an actual gun, so it's very hard to aim with it. We look at China and the J72, which is totally not a MiG. The PL2, 10G, it's not great, but this plane is very, very fast. It's very useful in some respects, And then we get to countries like France, and you've got the F100D, which is still a fairly decent jet. It's still fairly decent, but it doesn't compare to the air-to-air missiles of other nations. Italy, again, the F-86K does not compare. If you look at the modifications, it's an AIM-9B, so it has that. It's a 10G loading, so people can dodge it easily. It's not that great. Japan, with the T2 is still relatively good, but it has got eaten in the meta of things. but you do get the AIM-9Es, 10G, still very usable missile, but this thing is still quite dangerous with its guns and performance. But realistically, if your team is made up of non-favourable planes, so say you've got MiG-19Ss, CLs, which are all possible, because they're 9.3, 10.3. You've got these planes that aren't current current meta, so to say. You do struggle, and your team generally loses. Again, the R60, 18G. So if you've got a team of MiG-21s that have the decent missiles on board, you're going to have a harder time. If you end up on a team with G91YSs, which 9.7 are going to face the top tiers, if you have the I forgot the name of it, the J32B, Tehran is coming to mind, but I know that's wrong. But again, modifications on this. It's not the greatest dogfighter in the world. It has some okay missiles, but it's relatively big, relatively heavy, and can struggle a bit. At least it's only 9.0, so you're not going to get in those 10.3 matchups. The problem lays with more of the other things that are 9.3. So the Antard, for instance, I think there's also Swift's down there, but the Antard is very much a plane that if you get dragged up into that area, it's not a bad plane, but you're not got the ability to fight some of the other jets as well, because you lack that speed. Your guns aren't as good, but 30mm are good, but you can't get on target very easily. You do struggle an awful lot. So what ends up happening is you get matches like we just saw, where you have one team that has a few different jets in it, and then one team that is all MiG-21s, and that MiG-21 team is always going to win. So yeah, Gaijin really need to think about something with jets, because it is just so incredibly broken at the moment, and really it's not fun. There's not many times you've had fun with dogfights in jets anymore. Be it simply that you can hit a Phantom 5 or 6 times with a 30mm cannon and do no damage to it, or you have missiles that simply are outmatched by everybody else. It makes it incredibly unbalanced. And it's similar with ground forces, of course, with things like the thermal vision. If your tank's got thermal vision rather than night vision, it will do so much better. It's just so imbalanced. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this moan. I will be back again at some stage. Until then, this is me, Carl Screezilla, out. Bye bye.